One.
All
Oh,
right,
she's
then.
gonna.
Welcome to the Fantasy Dad Show live on Facebook and Twitch, hosted by Ryan Rhino Kennedy, Kevin Giroux, and Seamus the Moose Anderson.
What's up, everybody? It's the Fantasy Dads Tuesday night waiver show. You're here with myself, Seamus the Moose Anderson, and Kevin Giroux, aka Smirks Davis, aka
What's
Kangaroo
up?
Jack. How
Oh
you doing
wow,
tonight,
he's going
Ken?
for it today. I'm fantastic, man. A lot of disappointment this week in the
Oh,
NFL, though, across the board.
oh
Some
yeah.
some rough week one action going on. Fantasy wise, real football wise, some stuff was ugly. So we're gonna talk all about that. Oh, got my
Yeah,
dog
and
chiming in.
yeah, we got a lot. Is your pup chiming in? You said.
Yeah, we got a guest star today. It's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind a little puppy talk. Probably make me a little bit happier than I was this weekend. Had some good matchups. First, let's talk about how we did individually this week. I had some good matchups. I had some horrible plays. I should have tinkered at least once, but didn't because that's a commandment. But overall, I went 3-4. Four of the matchups came to the point of the last game Sunday night and the last game last night. So overall, not too disappointed. Darren Waller crushed me in one league, Lamar in another. That type of stuff is just going to happen. So, o- o- overall, I was not pleased with my weekend. Like I thought I drafted well enough that I would do really well in the first week, but I guess you kind of expect that, right? Like if I was in 2 leagues and went 1-1, I probably wouldn't be as upset. But going 3-4 definitely hurts under 500. But how'd you do
Right,
this
right,
weekend?
right. 2-5, Moose. 2-5. And I'll tell you,
Two and five.
I was staring at 3-4, and then Darren Waller happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was up 31 like in change, and he had Waller and Justin Tucker, so I took that L by like a point and a half PPR. So it is what it is, man. You're gonna have that heartbreak happen throughout the year, but we got a good enough team, active enough on waivers. Everything will be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. And I just want to preface this whole episode by saying, yeah, we're gonna go through the waiver wire ads. We're gonna go through who we think you should pick up, but by no means do we believe that you should blow up your team yet. Like, do not be dropping guys that maybe didn't get as many touches. Like, I personally wouldn't go dropping uh, Trey Sermon for Elijah Mitchell. Like, I'm not going to do that just yet. I think you should trust in your draft. Supposedly, we'll add to that a little bit later about the Trey Sermon Elijah Mitchell situation. But I just want to say, don't freak out. Your team's probably not that bad just because you lost a week. This type of shit, like Kev said, it just happens. It's fantasy football. You're literally gambling, and we're gonna try to give you the best advice we can under the statistics and under just our general football knowledge, what we know about coaches and teams, like this type of stuff just happens. So stick with your team, but we're definitely here to ask questions. If you guys have any questions regarding if you think you should pick up Mitchell, let us know first who you're going to drop. I think that's super important. Do you have anything to add to that? I just think like last year, like by week 2, dude, I dropped Justin Jefferson. Like, I'm not saying there's a Justin
Right.
Jefferson out there just yet, but here's the deal. Elijah Moore could be Justin Jefferson, and we just don't know it yet. So what do you have to
Yeah, I
add
was
to
gonna
that?
say that name exactly. Don't drop him yet. I would hold because he still had he had 4 targets. And he looks like even when Crowder comes back, Moore's gonna be involved in the offense. They're not a very good team. Gonna be throwing the ball plenty, playing from behind. So I definitely that's probably the closest comparable thing to Justin Jefferson would be just letting go of Moore after 1 week. He is someone I'd like to hold on to at least another week or two. I put out a list on Twitter: Callaway, Darnell Mooney, Trey Sermon, Elijah Moore. Headline, kind of the guys who are on the borderline. Like if you needed someone to cut, I would hold them, and then someone after that, like a Tevin Coleman, a Michael Carter, and basically all the Jets running backs. You can cut them loose if you need to. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm holding
like
those 2 rookies.
right. Like I'm probably dropping Michael Carter for Elijah Mitchell if I can get him. I'm definitely dropping Michael Carter for Kenneth Gainwell because I love Gainwell with his fab. I think you can get him extremely cheap. So with that being said, let's talk about like a little bit about who you were. We'll go back to week 2. Who you loved on your teams, who really shined for you, anybody that in particular you were a little bit surprised about, or anybody just followed suit and obviously just did their thing like they normally do for your squad.
Yeah, so mostly it was disappointment, but we'll get into the one guy who did what we were talking about all off season was Corey Davis. We were hyping him up as a great value all off season, and he definitely returned on that with the 2 scores. Pretty sure he went over. Did he get 100 yards? Let me go peep real quick. He definitely had a
i
huge game.
I think he
97 and 2,
97. Yeah,
so
I was gonna
just
say I
shy of
think he was right
100.
around it.
5 for 97 and 2. He's clearly the one easy number 1 target in that offense, and you could get him really, really late. So I got him in my flex with 2 other really stout receivers. So I'm happy about that. He'll be there all year. Solid flex piece in a PPR.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I had Corey Davis go in our sleeper league, in our league of legacy, our legacy league where if you haven't heard about it, it's our first listeners league. We were super pumped about it, and we absolutely know that one of us has to win because just like if we don't,
Right.
it's just ugly. So it wasn't that league I had him in. It was a different league, but anyways, um, Dan, shout out to Dan. He couldn't make it to the show tonight, or Rhino. We miss you guys. Dan put on an absolute show against me. And the funniest thing is that if I had played Jameis Winston over who I thought would be a bona fide number 1 out of week 1, I knew he would struggle in Pittsburgh, but it was Josh Allen. Um, it's just tough. But Corey Davis, dude, I mean, like, what a night. Even in standard, I think he was top 5. I'm looking, yeah, he was even PPR. He was the wide receiver 5 on the day. So it's just unbelievable what he got done. And he's the clear guy there. Like that's why I don't want people to freak out about Elijah Moore yet. I'm not saying that he's gonna be the next Justin Jefferson. I don't want you to get me wrong, but I just think it's too soon. Um, yeah, I guess another surprise for me too was Jamar Chase, man. So I didn't take any stock in Chase because I didn't trust his hands from all the beat reporters writing, which I know is dumb, but like you can only go off of what you know, and what we knew is that he couldn't catch the ball. That's what we knew. Um so it was surprising for me
Right.
to see after we just heard he can't see the fucking white lines on the football that he's out here, you know, catching balls and obviously getting targeted. Five receptions on 7 targets, 101 yards, in a touchdown, in a long touchdown. So, what did you think about him, man? Like that was unbelievable. We're all about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd here, but woof,
I think I'm kind of off Boyd now after that game.
yeah.
I thought we were going to be looking at him as like the security blanket, getting 7-8 targets a game. That didn't happen. Burrow's looks like he's gonna stretch the field a little bit. He's got his old college teammate back. I think Chase put any concerns about him to bed in that game. That was a statement game, and he's here. He's gonna be legit, and he's another guy you got with a crazy discount because he dropped some passes in the preseason, which is why we try not to overreact, but we always do. As an industry, everybody overreacts a little bit. I think he was getting drafted where he belonged in Dynasty, but in redraft, he just kept falling. And yeah, so whoever ended up with him, they're definitely happy.
But I almost guarantee I don't know what his starting percentage was, but I don't think it was high, Kev. Like I don't think
It was
after if
probably
you
low.
listen right, like if you listen to any podcasts at all from anybody, if you listen to our show, like everything that we base rookies off is their camp and preseason. Like that's it. And we couldn't even base Jamar Chase off of a football year last. He didn't play football. So to me, it was just like it was what we had to go by, and it is what it is. But like Kev said, if you got him, what I mean, what a great draft pick that was. Another surprise for me, a pleasant surprise that we haven't seen really in 2 years was Marquise Brown. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't think the touchdowns are going to continue the way they did. But to be tied for the lead, with touchdowns with Amari Cooper and Adam Thielen, who's always getting touchdowns, and Tyler Lockett, who had a monster week. I mean, to get Tyler Lockett in the 5th round, by the way, remember we were saying if you get him in the 5th round, he's an immediate lock. Like if he comes up to you, you have to take him. So the wide receivers definitely showed up this week. I just want to rattle off the top 10. And we'll start at 10. Cooper Kupp, who, by the way, if you watched our Legacy League draft, which was live last Tuesday, I accidentally picked him over Robert Woods, and I was upset about it. Guess what? Papa ain't upset no mo. All right. So Cooper Kupp's at number 10. We got Christian Kirk at 9. Absolutely love that. I took him in one league. I didn't start him. Sterling Shepard 8. Did start him in our league, Legacy League. We got Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins at 6, Corey Davis 5, Adam Thielen 4, Debo Manuel the Samuel at 4. What a man he is. Tyreek Hill and Amari Cooper. It's good to see Cooper on the top of the list too. I feel like he's been coming into his own with this offense, and the sky's the absolute limit. And shout out to CeeDee Lamb being number 13. That's massive. And I even want to talk about the other guys in this list, man. Like Antonio Brown finishing the way he did with 121 yards, 7 targets, 5 receptions. I don't want to say I told everybody, Kev, because I don't think I was the only one high on him, but I said top 25 finish is well within the realm of possibility, man. Like, I think it could happen.
Without a doubt. If he goes out there and does that again, for sure. I think he has every chance to do that because he still looks like just an elite separator. The guy is just getting open downfield at will in his 30s. He's one of the best to ever do it, man. So he, without a doubt, can be top 25 in that offense. I still like Godwin over him, but I don't think I'm on the Mike Evans train anymore.
Yeah, like
that was tough.
To be fair, he's never finished a season without 1,000 yards, right?
Right,
So, like,
he's gonna end up getting his, but
do you think it's
just,
going to
I
be
don't know
mostly
if
just touchdown dependency now?
it might be. I don't know if he's gonna have 1,000 this year. I don't know. We would have to see just a completely different game plan, which we will, I'm sure, depending on who they're playing. But it just his first read, like it was Chris Godwin was his first read more than it wasn't, and then it was AB or it was Gronk. Like Evans, he wasn't looking his way at all.
Yeah.
So that's
And
tough, man. That's tough.
I don't know, man. But Gronk, I mean, what a game by Gronk. It was just unbelievable to watch. And we got to
Oh, he's
talk a little
back.
bit
He
about that
looked like
on
Gronk.
Sunday, but I mean, it was just like it was just a pleasant surprise, man. So, yeah, we were happy to see it. Michelangelo, thanks for joining in, and we do have some viewers. Thank you, everybody. If you can, hit that like button, hit that share button, help a friend. That's what we're here for, and we're glad you guys are joining in. He said Rhino, I believe, has to pay up his round of beers. That is not a fact. I
Ooh.
was way off. I was way off on Ryan Tannehill, but I'll explain exactly why I thought he'd be top 3. And my theory was not wrong, but me thinking that they had an offensive line that wasn't built by 5th graders was wrong. All right. So Ryan Tannehill, we knew Kyler Murray he's gonna attack the air. He's in the Kingsbury offense, and that's what they do. Like he might get 4,500 yards this season, 4,000 easily, but I knew they were going to throw the ball. They have too many targets, and I thought Ryan Tannehill would have to put the ball in the air to win. Now, did I think that Derrick Henry would get 10 fantasy points and barely do a thing? No, that I did not know. But this even worked in my favor more because if that offensive line had blocked anybody that day, Chandler Jones with 5 sacks. Are you kidding me?
5 by himself, bro. That's crazy.
Right. They could have just put him in there and then just put coverage on the field. Like I honestly think he would have gotten through that whole line. So I don't think my theory was wrong. I just think they didn't execute on all avenues of the offensive playbook. I just like I don't understand it. So I do apologize for anybody that I think if you had to play Ryan Tannehill, you probably had to play Ryan Tannehill. I started him in one league over like Justin Fields. Like I feel like I had to play him there, but I didn't start Daniel Jones, and now I'm like shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think I'd have to play Daniel Jones in my keeper league. Like, that's what are we doing here? So
How about
I just want to
Jared
explain
Goff,
that.
Moose?
Jared Goff had an absolute day.
What a what a day.
Do we consider that a garbage time points though? Or do
Probably,
you,
but isn't that going to be their whole season?
I
Are
guess
they ever
so.
going to be? I mean, how often are they going to be playing from ahead?
I don't know. And it's, the thing is though, right? Is that so Jared Goff finished 3 on the week. For anybody that doesn't know, he had 29 points in most leagues, depending on your situation. The craziest thing about this entire situation is that his running backs, Jamal Williams finished 3rd this week, and DeAndre Swift was the RB4 man. Like, it's just crazy. Like, okay, so for instance, we'll get to Goff in a second. I just want to focus on Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, real quick. Swift is owned in all leagues. He should always be owned in all leagues. He's the RB1 there. Jamal Williams is owned in 74.5% of leagues. If he is not owned in your league, that's who I'm spending my waiver pick on. Like, that's who I want because it's clear that they're going to use both backs. It's just like 9 attempts for 54 yards. He's clearly still got it. Back to Goff. Why don't you tell a little bit about what he did in that offense and what they did against, I mean, a really good defense. Like if they had played a team that had no offense, they could have won that game.
I mean, they got down big early. 49ers had that game in check, and then something happened where the Detroit Lions made that a one possession game somehow. But let's break this down. 10 targets for TJ Hawkinson, 11 for Swift, 9 for Jamal Williams. Absolutely ridiculous. His top wide receiver saw 7, and he only caught 3 of them. So it's clear to me how this offense is going to run. It's running through Hawk and the running backs. And you don't want any of those receivers, but man, if you got Swift, like he was falling to like the 5th round. Everyone got scared. I got scared.
I got scared too.
Man, that's another steal.
And the thing about getting scared with that pick too is that I think I had mentioned it a few weeks ago, but I never followed up on it. It was the fact that Anthony Lynn's their offensive coordinator. Anthony Lynn, the only thing he's ever done is run the ball and throw the ball to the running back and tight ends. Like that's all he's ever known. So, but I mean, he had Keenan Allen, but that's a whole different story. It's just unbelievable what they've done. And I mean, if you're in a super flex league and you play Jared Goff, Like, I know our boy Dan Saint did the other night. He's in a super flex and played Jared Goff. Like, you made out like a bandit. You made out like an
Oh
absolute
yeah,
bandit. I sh- even
that
Derek
that could
Carr
be
had
the
a week.
case all year, man. Chasing points. They're gonna be chasing points a lot, and those dump offs to the running backs will be there all year long.
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit worried about Hawkinson's production with Jared Goff. That speculation's gone. Like immediately. Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
gone.
So I made the mistake. Well, only week one. Not gonna call it a huge mistake yet. But I bought. I didn't want to touch Hawkinson with the shoulder injury. I wasn't sure if he was gonna be 100%. So I took Mark Andrews. Like, oh, he'll be force fed targets in an offense without a stud wide receiver. And turns out, so far through one game, I was terribly wrong. Hawkinson's shoulder is fine. Mark Andrews had like 2 drops last night and only got 5 targets. I think he'll be okay, but I definitely should have went Hawkinson. I'm kicking myself in the ass for that one, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I have 2 pieces of Hawkinson, and it's just I just didn't know what to trust with this offense yet. And that's part of the gamble you take taking a guy like that, and that's part of a gamble you take not taking him. So it's just what a game. What a game. What a fantasy output for those guys. Definitely happy for DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. I mean, everyone was just so low on him. I know we're talking quarterback. I mean, let's get into the disappointments this week, man. And the
Plenty of
surprises.
them, bro.
Yeah. I
Plenty of
mean,
them.
so let me read you some quarterbacks that finished outside of the top 20, and then one that finished outside the top 30. Okay. Behind
Hmm.
guys like Taylor Henneke. Okay. At
Yeah, and
20,
behind Fields and Lance, who
yeah, and
only
Garoppolo. Like
played
it's
like a few snaps.
yeah, exactly. So I'll start at 20. Lamar Jackson with 18 points. Josh Allen with 17.2. Ryan Tannehill, who tied with Mac Jones for 15.2, and then Justin Herbert down to 26 with 14.4. I know me and Rhino were talking Justin Herbert, Ryan Tannehill the other day. I never visioned one of those guys finishing outside the top 12, let alone the
Say
top
the
20.
answer was neither. The
The
answer
answer
was
was neither.
Jameis Winston or
The answer is we're horribly wrong.
Tyrod Taylor, apparently, or Goff.
Yeah.
Goff.
Yeah,
Herbert will be fine. Tannehill, I'm a little more concerned with, but
yeah, Tannehill, I'm super concerned with now. Tyrod Taylor finished at 11. Kirk Cousins, 13. Daniel Jones, 14. Teddy Bridgewater, Zach Wilson, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, all in front of those guys. And it's just impossible to figure that out. Now, I would say out of all those guys, like I still wouldn't go chasing for them. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably not going to use my waiver my waiver wire. I'm not going to add those guys. Like I'm probably just not going to do that. Now, Jameis Winston, yeah, I'll do that. The dude only threw for
yeah.
148 and 5 touchdowns. Yeah, I trust that because he's going to throw the ball. But it's just really interesting, man, how bad some of these guys came out week one. But nobody was as bad as, I mean,
Aaron.
Aaron Rodgers, washed
Oh,
king himself. If I don't hear Max Kellerman
disgusting.
say the words falling off a cliff this week, I might punch a TV. Like, honestly. Uh, uh, 15 completions out of 28 attempts, 53.6 percentage with 133 yards, and they were lucky. They were faulty defensive back mistakes. Like I don't quite understand what happened with this. All of them. Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams. Where were any of them, dude? Like these are the 3 guys that were going. I mean, especially Adams. He was going in the first round. In our league of record, he was the only wide receiver to go in the first round. I don't know, man. Does it worry you season long? Do you think they're gonna figure something like this out like sooner than later?
Yeah, I think they do. Whether it's an Aaron Rodgers problem and they do something about that, or it's the team. The Saints do have a good defense. It's not that good. But we did see a game last year where they beat the Bucks 38-3 and the Bucks won the Super Bowl. So I'm not gonna like go full panic mode on this, but they got to figure something out with Rodgers, and the whole offense needs to be better. I'm not too worried about Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones, because Jones was still, he was out there more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But definitely just a stinker, man. They just came out flat. I don't know if they underestimated the team they were playing or what happened. They just weren't prepared.
I mean, they were playing in a neutral site too. That's the thing.
Right.
That gets
there
me
was
is like,
there was no Superdome.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what Jameis Winston's about to do in the Superdome? Like, okay, Jameis Winston won me a championship 2 years ago. Like, he is somebody if I am a Ryan Tannehill owner right now, like, I'm getting Jameis Winston on my bench if he's available. He's only 35% rostered. Like, that's a dude. He can play. Like, he obviously knows this offense. Like, that was very clear because he only had to throw 150 yards to get in the end zone 5 times. Like, and you take a look at his schedule middle of the season after their bye, man. Seattle, Atlanta, Tennessee, Philly, Dallas, the Jets. And then in week 18, which I think most leagues will probably be done by week 18, right? I think most weeks will still end 17.
Yeah, I would say
like
that.
You're not playing him in the playoffs. He's got Tampa Bay, Miami, and Carolina. But between that point, like, you have to start thinking about this stuff because you can lose the next 5 weeks and still get in the playoffs. You can go 0-5. Like, we've seen it happen. And if you have a guy like Jameis Winston, you can make it happen. Derek Carr, Tyrod Taylor. I mean, Tyrod Taylor had a game. I mean, they were unbelievable. I knew he only threw. He threw under 300 yards, but for a guy that threw under 300 yards and was just out of the top 10, like, that's crazy. Almost 24 fantasy points. Like, I just don't. Week 1. This was the craziest week 1 I remember, and I thought we'd see it change because there were fans back. I just don't. Week 1. This was the craziest week.
Man, it got wild. Lots of busts. Definitely some busts involved here. You want to get into some running backs? Man, it got wild. Late eggs, man. I don't want to either, but we already talked Aaron Jones. You want to get into some running backs?
You go ahead. You lead it off.
Late eggs, man. I don't want to either. We did tell people if you had options not to use Saquon Barkley, but he needs help. I don't want to. That man needs help. That O-line needs help. Just like the Titans. That was looking brutal. He needs help. Did 10 for 26 and he caught one ball. I know they said they were going to use him sparingly. He obviously was looking brutal. They were playing from behind, so they weren't going to run a tremendous amount anyway. But 10 carries, he didn't do anything with them. I'd be worried. Playing from behind, so they weren't going to run. I don't think he definitely was not worth the first round. I don't think he's going to find enough space and have enough success in this offense unless they involve him more in the passing game. Maybe they were just trying not to do that this week, because of coming off the injury, but maybe they were just trying not to. They only had 3 targets, caught one of them for a yard, they need to get that man involved in the pass.
Right, I do think that played a huge part in it.
Caught one of them for a yard.
I think he's still getting eased back.
They need to get that man involved in the pass.
If we see his real self, I don't think it'll happen until week 4, 5, 6. Like, who knows? It might take. I mean, they have a week 10 bye week. It's not like they have an early bye week, and their schedule the entire year is riddled with good defense. 10 his next 3 weeks are Washington, Atlanta, New Orleans, and then finally Dallas. But then they have the Rams with good defense.
Atlanta's nothing to be
His
afraid
next
of.
3 weeks are
You
Washington,
don't think? You can
Atlanta,
run on
New Orleans.
Atlanta just got steamrolled by the Eagles, so no, I'm not worried about Atlanta. Atlanta's nothing to be afraid of. But you can run on Atlanta just the other ones though for sure. So no, I'm not worried about Atlanta.
I'm worried about.
But
I mean, we were worried about Saquon before the week started.
the other ones though.
Aaron Jones, same thing. We talked about him. 4.2.
I'm worried about.
But I mean, we were worried about Saquon. Zeke did little to nothing, just under 6 points. 11 attempts, 33 yards. His long was 13 yards. That's not good. Like, that's not good. I know that average is 3 yards, but that's not good.
I'd say he looked really good blocking though. We'll say that for him. Guy was picking up blitzes all day long. All day long. He was cracking linebackers, but he definitely should have made that guy miss, I think. When they were down by the goal line and there was that pitch play. He had to make a guy miss and he didn't. He either could have taken it, to the edge, beat him to the edge, or cut back in. He didn't do either. He just got tackled. I think, a few years ago, he makes that play. He makes that man miss, and he gets into the end zone. I think he's going to be fine, given that he's an alpha. He's on a good offense, and I know Pollard was on the field a lot, but they were on the field at the same time a lot. So I think Zeke's going to be okay, but he's not going to be 2016 Zeke, 2017.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like, I thought he looked really good in Hard Knocks, and I know you can only tell so much from there, but we need to talk about Darrell Henderson. Timeout. I don't know if Sony Michel is going to see much of this field. I don't. I think if you took him in a round that was above 11, for now anyways, you wasted your pick. Maybe he sees the work down the line. He probably will see more work. But Darrell Henderson finishes the RB 16 attempts, 77 yards, 4.4 per, in a touchdown. Like he went off almost 16 points. I was actually glad to see that. It was like good to see that they actually do trust him. And this is why, and I tell myself every year, man, but like, you can only trust so much of what the reporters tell you and what the moves tell you. Like, they obviously trust this guy if they let him, run the ball 16 times, because they didn't need to run the ball. Let's be frank. They were good enough to not run the ball the entire night.
Yeah, it's just you want to run up the score even more. They could have. Stafford already went for 321 and 3. I mean, he was as advertised with that offense.
Yep.
So that was good for all involved there. But yeah, I don't know if maybe when Sony's a little more acclimated with the offense, he'll touch the ball a few more times, but it's clearly Henderson's backfield for sure. It's his to lose.
Yeah, I would have to agree, and I just don't. We'll see Sony at some point, but I don't want to spend too much time on him. The next guy I want to talk about is Melvin Gordon. Man, 20.8 points, 11 attempts, 101 yards, with his long being 17 yards. That's unbelievable. That's a 9.2 average. And man, I know they were playing the Giants. Play everybody against the Giants. That's what I'm going to say from here on out. But I mean, what a game, dude! Like, I'm out here starting Javonte Williams because I thought he was going to get the work, and he did get some work, but it was low work.
He had more carries. He
have more carries, but they didn't amount to as much, I guess, is what my complaint would be. But night, buddy.
Good night, Eric.
Yeah, no, it's just like, it was unbelievable. One guy I do want to take a little bit of credit for that I was worried about was Austin Eckler finishing as the RB28. I mean, Antonio Gibson was just above him. Damian Harris with the fumble at the end was you had Kenyon Drake with 12 points. Love that. I love seeing that. And we knew they'd use him, right? But I do love seeing that. Another guy I was low on this year that finished RB14 was Josh Jacobs. So Is there anybody on the list of running backs that impressed you? I know there's one guy in particular too that finished in the top 10 that we haven't spoken about, and if you own a piece of him, you should be glad to. I know I said I didn't want to own a piece of this backfield, but now I might.
Um, are you talking about San Francisco?
I'm not, but we'll get into that situation in
All
a
right.
second.
Well,
I was talking
yeah,
about
we
Tyson.
okay. All right. Hey, I got something to say about him later, but how about let's talk about the number one overall fantasy asset and how ridiculous he really is. Christian McCaffrey didn't even have to score a touchdown, and he still goes for 27 and change just because of sheer volume. Caught all 9 of his targets, and he went for damn near 100 on the ground. Like, when you can score almost 30 fantasy points without even getting into the end zone, you are a cheat code, and
Yeah.
that is why he is the first overall pick. He just separates himself from everybody else, and he's back. So
Yeah.
as long as he's on the field, man, he's the difference.
Yeah, agreed. It's unbelievable what he does, isn't it? Like, I mean, it's not like Sam Darnold was out here having a crazy game. Like, he had 35 attempts, 9 of them went to the running back. 9. One went to Robbie Anderson, which was a long ball and a touchdown, which saved his day. That worries me. But yeah, I mean, like, Christian McCaffrey's he's a god amongst men. He really is. Those receptions will make the difference. Like, you're looking at a comparison with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, where they have no wide receivers. They have no wide receivers. Like, Carolina's got receivers. They have targets. They have the targets, and he's gonna take a majority of them because I think that's the way Matt Rule likes to
Yeah.
run that offense. But yeah, just ridiculous. Um, I don't know what else to say.
Encouraging for DJ Moore, though, to lead that crop of receivers with his 8 targets. So I
True.
think you got to feel pretty good about him.
Yeah, I've been low on him the last 2 years. So, and putting Sam Darnold at the helm didn't make me want him anymore. Joe Mixon at 2. Is
Oh,
he
yeah.
back? But is he actually here? like like for real this time?
Until he comes up with an injury of some kind, man, he looked very legit. And that offense is going to be good. They're obviously going to be able to put
Clearly.
points on the board. So I didn't get any Joe Mixon, cause being burned too many times in the past. But I mean, he looked real good, and he got 30 rushing attempts, 29. But I mean that's true workhorse right there.
Yeah, I think for all the running backs on the day, he had the most attempts. Um, I, I even think he had the most yards on the day. So, even with a touchdown in those attempts, this is why we say in PPR it's so important to have, even on your bench, a guy like Naeem Hines or a guy like we'll talk about in a bit, Kenneth Gainwell or James White. Like, those guys, they showed out this week. And those some of these true workhorse backs, Derrick Henry, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Aaron Jones, Zeke, they didn't. So yeah, to see that he got, the touches he got and everything it's just I mean, he only had 4 receptions. So that just shows you, like, he may be a different Joe Mixon this year. And if Michelangelo is still with us, I know he's probably burying us right now, because he called it. He called it, Michelangelo. We know you love that, your guys. So I mean, great pick. Now let's get into it. Let's get into the waiver wire targets. And I'd like to start at running back because I always think that's the most important position. Unless you have like a ridiculously stacked running back squad, or tandem, and you just don't need to worry about it. That's different. But let's talk about the number one guy. Go ahead, Kev.
Eli Mitchell, Elijah Mitchell
You
from
got
San
it.
Francisco, who came out and I mean by default had 19 carries. over 100 yards. But I don't know what's gonna happen now. Most are going to the IR. Sermon should be active on game day, right?
So as the story goes, and this is just what I've heard from somebody that's heard on Fantasy Serious Radio somewhere, was that because Brandon Ayuk and Sermon both, I mean, Sermon didn't dress. Um, Ayuk barely did anything. So apparently they missed curfew the night before the game or the night, 2 nights before the game. I'm not sure which
Yeah,
one it
I
was.
think that was a joke, bro.
No.
Yeah,
That
that was
upsets me.
so there's like this long running joke now for like the past week on some guy back with the DeAndre Swift thing. He goes, "Oh, he said, I called a hotel, the police department or whatever in Philly. DeAndre Swift isn't being investigated and things." So now it's like a long running joke where somebody says, "Oh, I just called, so and so, and this is what's happening." So some guy, he's a dynasty guy on Twitter, he puts out, I just called the hotel or whatever. Trey Sermon and Brandon Ayuk were late for curfew. So then everybody's ran with it. That's not the case. It didn't happen. I think
Damn.
Ayuk is just. They said he was struggling with drops in training camp, may have come in out of shape. That could be the case. I don't believe that it's just his hamstring because he returned a punt. If you're trying to keep a guy's hamstring good, he's not playing. Why is he returning punts?
Yeah,
So there's
you're
definitely
probably
something to worry about. But I'm pretty sure the curfew thing was a joke.
that sucks. I didn't look into it any more than what I had already, which was little to none. So I mean that sucks to hear. But how do you evaluate getting Eli Mitchell? Do you think so I'll explain my position first. So I own Trey Sermon in a couple of leagues, right? I rostered him in a couple of leagues, and I'm not as worried, I think, than a lot of other people are. So here's the deal. If you're a Trey Sermon owner, you go and get Elijah Mitchell, but you don't drop Sermon for him. Like you want both pieces of that backfield because eventually, and by eventually I mean probably soon, we're gonna figure out who the main piece of that backfield is. Now, if you're a guy that's upset because Javonte Williams didn't play well in the first game, or I'm trying to think of guys I wouldn't drop for him. Like I wouldn't drop Tony Pollard. I probably wouldn't drop maybe even Tony Jones Jr. I'm not quite sure where my cutoff is because I don't own a lot of these guys, like Devin Singletary. Like what's your line? Like who would you drop that is like a name? Like who would you drop that people have? Like Latavius Murray? Um, I don't even know. Like who would you drop for him?
Any of the Jets running backs, if you have them hanging
Fact.
around.
Fact.
Um,
That's a fact.
Let me take a look here. I'm
Like
thinking it's probably going to end up being like a depth receiver that you can drop for him, or more than a running back,
that's fair. But yeah,
unless you
definitely
if
any
you
of the
had
Jets
like
running
a
backs, yeah.
if you had a Devontae Booker or Damian Williams sort of
Yep.
handcuff going on, Alexander Madison, you're booting them off your team
Yep.
for Mitchell, but you don't want to go too crazy. I would rather have Mitchell over any of the guys in Houston. I know Mark Ingram just had himself a day,
Yeah, I
but
wanted to talk about him in a
how
second.
another team that how often are they going to be playing that far ahead?
Yeah.
Jacksonville's a mess. Urban Meyer's probably going to quit to go to USC already. So
Is
I'm
that what
not
they're
going to buy
saying?
too much into. Yeah, dude. They're saying he might just take off, go back to college. USC's got an opening. That'd be
Well,
hilarious.
I heard something else about Bieniemy being Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator in Kansas City being the favorite for that job. But yeah, I would probably drop like I mean it depends on who you're talking about, but pretty much like anybody that's not a name wide receiver that finished like outside the top 50. And we were riddled with first, second, third, fourth, fifth round picks that finished outside the top 50, to name a few: Devontae Adams, Rondale Moore, Jacoby Myers, Kenny Galladay, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley, Chase Claypool, Allen Robinson. They all had horrible weeks. but I'm not like obviously dropping guys like that. But I'm probably going after Elijah Mitchell before I go after a Deontay Harris in waivers,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Who I
yeah,
think
yeah,
is
yeah.
also
Harris
yeah,
seems
Harris.
like more of from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he only had 2 targets. He just happened to catch a long one. He might break one every once in a while, but that 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 was weird. That whole game was weird because he didn't have to really do much. He threw 5 touchdowns, but he didn't have to throw it a lot. So his target breakdown was 9 to his tight ends. Troutman had 6 targets, didn't do anything with him, but I want to see a game where he has to throw the ball a little bit more, where it's going. I
Yeah.
still think Callaway is going to end up being the number 1.
Right. Like I was just about to ask
So
you that. Like,
yeah,
are you like dropping a guy like Callaway for Elijah Mitchell? Like
I
probably
still
not.
want I still want to hold Callaway at least for another game or two.
What about a guy like I'm trying to pick a guy that's like over 20% owned or over 30% owned. What about Terrace Marshall?
What is
Right?
no. I like Terrace Marshall. He had 6 targets and a lot of them came in the red zone. He
Okay.
just missed a touchdown from Darnold. I still think he's someone I'd like to stash. Henry Ruggs, what's his ownership percentage? Because you can drop him.
Yeah, no, he's only oh god, he's 60% owned. That's
I think you can
insanity.
drop him, bro. He's
Yeah, I think
never
you can
had more
drop
than
him.
5 targets in a game, and we saw it yesterday. He's not good. They're still trying to use him as the deep ball guy, deep threat guy because he's fast. But he in the NFL, he's not able to get off the line. He's getting jammed by these guys. They're too physical for him. He's
Yep.
not getting open. They need to just get him the ball in space, like
Y-
low. I'm pretty sure they were saying this on the broadcast last night. Or all right, someone was tweeting about it during the game, and I saw it. They need to just get him on like slants or end arounds. Get him the ball near the line of scrimmage and let him do stuff with it. What you're doing with him is just wasting him right now. So you can probably drop him,
Yeah.
especially when Waller's getting 20 targets a game. No one else is really relevant.
You know what the thing is too, and I said this when we did a mock draft. I took Hunter Renfro, and nobody really disagreed with it. But I'd rather own a Hunter Renfro over Henry Ruggs. I mean, any day of the week, dude. I mean, like
In a
he's getting
full
9
PPR for
targets a
sure.
game. Yeah, in a full PPR, I'm taking him. I'm taking Tim Patrick. Like, there's a few guys that I'm taking over Henry Ruggs. I just
Even
don't.
even the other guy on the Raiders,
Zay
Edwards,
Zay
basically
Jones. Oh, Brian.
the whole game he was looking like, oh, all that hype was nothing. And then I mean he kind of 5 targets, 4 for 81, kind of all came late in the game. Almost had a touchdown. He was brought down like the half-yard line. But he's still someone I'm kind of intrigued in as a hold. But Ruggs just looks like he's not going to be a major part of that offense.
I don't think so either. If you're getting less targets than Braxton Berrios is getting in New York, then just
It's a
get out of
problem.
town. Get out of town. Also, just side note, love seeing Chris Hogan get a touchdown on the only target of the day. In New Orleans. Shout out to that dude. Won us the AFC Championship. Yeah, so Elijah Mitchell, it depends on your situation. Let us know what your situation is. Like send us a picture of your team because I don't think there's too many guys that I would like just outright drop for him. But if you're running back, if let me put it this way. If your running back committee on your fantasy team is not where you'd like it to be and you want to take a chance and go after Elijah Mitchell. But he is going to be taken. So and he's going to be taken within the first 4 waiver ads. Like if you don't have a top 4 waiver
Yeah, he's
order,
he's
like
he's
he's gone.
probably going to be number 1.
Yeah. I would agree. Like you'd have to get pretty lucky. The next guy I want to talk about that everyone's been like high on because of this, but I don't want a piece of him, and I don't think we have to spend too much time on it. It's Mark Ingram. I don't want a piece of that backfield. There's 4 running backs that touched the ball the other day, and I think he just had a good day against a shitty defense, and I'm not taking him. Like I'm letting somebody take that. I'm gonna see who they drop. That's what
Yeah,
I'm doing.
don't burn your claim or waste your fab on Ingram. You definitely look better than Philip Lindsay. Lindsay fumbled. He's managed to score a touchdown somehow, but looks like David Johnson is going to be on the field when they're in passing situations, and I don't expect them to put up 37 probably ever again this year. So I wouldn't be too interested in Mark Ingram. I did figure out another guy you can drop though that was probably drafted more than he needed to be as like a handcuff / PPR guy is McKissick.
Yup.
Yeah, he was a non-factor. It looks like they're gonna be giving Gibson what he deserves, the full workload. I hope that continues all year. 5 targets, 20 rush. McKissick had 1 target, 1 rush. Like he wasn't used. That's awesome if you drafted Antonio Gibson in the second round.
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah. And I only got I only got one piece of Gibson this year, I think. Oh no, you know what? No, I took him in best ball leagues. Otherwise, I missed out. I missed out this year on Antonio Gibson. He's going to have a fantastic year. The next guy that I would consider taking off of the waiver wires, because I'm not touching a David Johnson. I'm not going to touch Jermichael Hasty or, I mean, Damian Williams. Like, if you're in a freaking deep league, if you're in a 14-team league, yeah, absolutely, I'll take him. But there's really only 2 running backs I want that are widely available in most leagues, and then maybe James White, but like I'm talking 6% owned, and that's Kenneth Gainwell. Now his numbers are not staggering; they're not crazy this week, but he had 9 attempts for 37 yards. Right? Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's 4.1 yards per attempt. So that's not bad. And his longest was only 8, so it's not like he had some breakout run and you got to be like, well, he's only going to get a breakout run. He had 3 targets, 2 receptions, 6 yards. Again, not crazy, right? Like, I mean, that's 43 yards. But it adds 2 touches, and he got 12.3 points. And I think all the running backs just let us down this week. Like, he was the running back 22, which is kind of sad that they just none of them had a lot of points. But he's the other guy I want.
Yeah, I mean he had what 12 touches, and Miles Sanders was totally healthy. So I mean he could be like a Naeem Hines kind of light, or like a guy who's going to have his own kind of standalone value. But if Sanders goes down, then that's big. So he's jumping to the top of the handcuff list for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't like that offense a lot anyways, but I'm really glad I took Kenneth Gainwell in our dynasty league, and I took him out of the taxi squad too, because I know for a fact this year at some point I'll have to use him. I feel no need to continue on with running backs. Let's get to the wide receivers. There's a couple of guys that I think everybody kind of knows um who they want and what they like. But for me, there's a couple in particular that are, again, widely available. Is there anybody that comes to your mind that you want immediately that you'll drop? A guy like Michael Carter, you'll drop a guy like McCole Hardman if you have him, or MVS if for some reason you drafted him. I'm trying to think of other
Hardman,
guys that are like,
that was another good one. Everyone's trying to make McCole Hardman a thing. It's not going
yeah,
to happen. So that's a
it's
good one.
it's never gonna happen.
Sterling Shepard.
So let me take a look at his own. So he's rostered in 32% of leagues. That's insane.
It's
Like, he
it's
is his favorite
30 on
target.
ESPN too.
You know what it is? You know what it is, Kev? So many people are Kevin Galladay, and they want him to be so great, so fast, so bad. But it's just not gonna happen. Not immediately anyways. So yeah, Sterling Shepard is and has been Daniel Jones' favorite target.
Right. He's had problems staying on the field, but I
Yep.
mean, 9 targets, 7 for 113, a touchdown. We already talked about probably not going to win many games. Going to be throwing the ball plenty. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking at as my number one wide receiver ad. Who else are you looking at, Moose?
Yeah, so I in terms of like ownership, like I do love Christian Kirk. I love his opportunity, and I did take him in one league this year, just as a flyer in the last round. Zach Pascal for me, like he might be the number one, but with 5 targets, like he got 2 touchdowns, I know, and he had some great touchdowns last year. Maybe he's just touchdown upside, and that's fine if you want that. Like that's perfectly fine. If you want to go after him, that's cool. But the guy for me that's going to do it is it's Tim Patrick. Like I know he only had 4 targets, but he's a big dude. Like if for me, if I'm picking up a wide receiver now, like it's going to be with touchdown upside. So it's going to be between Tim Patrick and Christian Kirk. The only difference between the two for me is that Jerry Judy's now out 6 to 8 weeks. RIP, dude. Like I can't believe Jerry Judy. Everybody that knows me knows I was so high on the guy. And I didn't even necessarily like where he was being drafted, but I loved his opportunity with Teddy Two Gloves. And he had a great game up until that point. I'm glad. I almost wish his ankle broke because I think he could have recovered faster, as messed up as that sounds. But Tim Patrick, 4 for 4.
They would have put him under the knife if it broke.
You think so? Yeah, probably because the way it snapped like that, it looked pretty bad. But I don't think it would have been a green hair crack, is what I'll say. But Tim Patrick, 4 for 4 with 39 yards, and almost 10 yards per target, and a touchdown. And I think that's going to go up. I think he's clearly going to be the guy that is competing with Noah Fant in the red zone for targets. And I think that number will start to go up. I'm not saying he's going to have 10 targets a game. Like if anybody's going to have 10 targets a game that's available on that team, like honestly, I think it might be KJ Hamler. To be honest with you, I love KJ's opportunity, but Tim Patrick for me, like over a guy like KJ Osborne or Danny Amendola or even Sammy Watkins if he's owned in your league. Like for me, he just has the opportunity with Jerry Judy now gone.
Yeah, I like him and Hamler. If you don't get one, try for the other because they'll both have plenty of targets available. Judy had 7 before he got hurt. He was having a nice day. So I think Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton probably still going to end up being the top options on that team, but Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler are worthy of rostering.
See, the thing for me, Kev, is I don't know if Cortland Sutton is it. I don't know. He had 3 targets. He only caught 1 ball. He had 2.4 points. I'm not saying that's going to continue. I
I'm
don't.
thinking it's
I
one
don't think it'll
game kind of
continue.
thing, but
Yeah, I don't think it'll continue. I'll say that first and foremost. I do not think it'll continue, and I think they have I think he has good matchups coming up against Jacksonville and the Jets, and they're going to have to put the ball in the air against Baltimore and Pittsburgh and the Raiders. And there's a ton of opportunity there. But Tim Patrick's a big dude. Like I don't know what is he, 6'4"? Like he's monstrous. He's a big dude. Yeah, he's 6'4", 212. Like he's just got the size advantage, and I think Teddy Bridgewater's going to like that moving forward. So that would probably be my next guy that I would look to get a piece of. But I was such a wide receiver whore this year that like I probably don't need him on most of my squads. Not to say I went 0 running back. I don't know what that whole new fad is, but but I definitely like who I got. Those Chris Davises, those Marvin Jones Juniors. We got to talk too. We got to talk about Mike Williams, man.
oh, he went off, man.
What a surprise. I mean, not a surprise for who he is, but 12 targets?
Yeah, it's kind of what he's been missing, really. Like his whole career, right? It was like an elite share of the offense. They never really looked his way enough. He would catch the long touchdowns, or he'd be a touchdown guy. He's never been a volume guy. So if that's what we're looking at now in this offense with Herbert, if he's getting Keenan Allen and Mike Williams double-digit targets a game, they're both going to be monsters.
Yeah. So I guess what it comes down to, especially with wide receiver. So I'm looking at the roster percentages now. Mike Williams, 74.6. I'm not going for a guy like Tim Patrick if a Mike Williams is available somehow in your league. I would imagine most of those percentages come from 8-team leagues. I do think that those come into play. Mike Williams and Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. at 71.1% or 71.3%. Yeah, I'm taking those odds over a Tim Patrick. Like those guys are just like they're elite talents. Let's not forget Marvin Jones Jr. finished as the wide receiver 18 last year with a shite team. I know I won't say that about Stafford in particular. Obviously, you put him on a good team and he's rolling, right? But for me, those are the two guys. If they're available in your league, even would you take Nelson Aguilar? Would you take him over Tim Patrick? Or who was the first one we mentioned? I'm sorry, I totally forget.
Shepard.
Shepard. Okay, yeah. So
Right.
I'm taking Shepard over him, but are you taking him over Patrick?
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah.
I think I might.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I mean with Patrick, there's Hamler, there's Sutton. I know he's definitely a red zone target, but Aguilar showed a good rapport with Mac Jones. So I don't know how many balls did Hunter Henry catch. It looked like it was Myers and it was Aguilar and Jonnu Smith. So I think I like Aguilar a little better. Yeah, James White, at least looking like vintage Tom Brady's offense.
Right. Right. So
Mac was dumping it off, dinking and dunking.
Yeah, right. Jonnu Smith had 5 targets and Hunter Henry had 3. So, I mean, yeah, I'd probably take Nelson Aguilar. I mean, I know I took Jacoby Myers in our legacy league over Nelson Aguilar. I'd probably do it again, to be honest with you. But I mean, he did get a touchdown, right? He got a touchdown. So, I definitely think that comes into play just a little bit. But that ball is going to be spread around for sure. Mac Jones had 39 attempts, and only 8 went to the tight ends, which I think we would have figured that a couple more would have went to them. So now the other guy I wanted to mention, I'm sorry, my computer's going super slow when I don't need it to. The other guy I wanted to mention was Cole Beasley. Um, he finishes the wide receiver 37 on a terrible day for Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Like they played awful, downright terrible. Stephon Diggs did absolutely nothing. I don't even know where he finished. Let me take a look because yeah, he's at the 29. So if Cole Beasley's at 37, he's only 57% owned. I mean, I'm not taking Tim Patrick over him, I don't think. I think the touchdown dependency for me is a little bit scarier than the target share. Cole Beasley with 13 targets
Yeah.
and he didn't catch 5 of them. And Josh Allen was not accurate this game at all. Like he was feeling the pressure with Cameron Hayward all day. So like would you take Cole Beasley over Tim Patrick if he's available in your league? And they only finished one
Yeah.
one piece apart. Like it was still close.
If he's available, yeah, I mean 13 targets, he's gonna do what he always does.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like low end wide receiver too with just massive PPR volume. So yeah, I would definitely go Beasley. I don't know what they need to fix that though in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I know Pittsburgh's good, but they played last year and that is not how that went. So
No.
First game jitters out of the way for Josh Allen. He was running for his life like he was a couple years ago. We've come to expect more from that team now. But I think they'll be fine. I think Diggs, Beasley, they'll be fine. Gabe Davis caught a touchdown. Definitely still the 4th wide receiver, though. He hasn't jumped Sanders yet.
Yeah. I'm not I don't think Sanders matters, to be honest. Um, are there any other guys? Oh, we did receive. I got a trade question from Bobby DiCarlo in my DMs. I told him to join the live stream. Bob, I hope you're on because I wanted to wait till you were here. But does he trade Zeke and Allen Robinson for DK Metcalf and DeAndre Swift, or should he wait and give Zeke another week to prove something?
Ooh,
I'll let you go first because I think this is an
yeah,
enticing
like
trade, right? Zeke and Allen Robinson for DK Metcalf and DeAndre Swift just had a massive week. If you have
like
DeAndre Swift
the
and you
thing,
want to sell him,
man.
sell high.
Right out of the gate, like you want to take that just because of how many passes it looks like these running backs are going to get in Detroit.
Yeah.
These dump offs. I mean, the guy had 8 catches, and the other running back had 8 catches. That probably won't happen. Swift will probably have more of the share. And Metcalf and Robinson are kind of equal almost, right?
Yeah, I think Robinson will get more targets, but the targets may not be as valuable as
Right.
DK Metcalf's are. So I
Definitely
I
more potential for big plays in Seattle than there is in Chicago right now
100%.
until
And
they do the right thing.
yeah, 100%. Me, I would take. I would definitely take that trade. I think for me though, it doesn't really have to do with the now. It has to do with the later or the upcoming. And Zeke's schedule now is hard, will be hard, and will be exceptionally hard during playoffs. And depending on, you got to think too, this is where you actually have to think a little bit about actual football, not just fantasy value. Like, put that aside for a second. Dallas is going to have to make the playoffs this year. Like, they're going to struggle to do that. Just like every team in the NFC is going to struggle to do that. And they're going to have to put the ball in the air towards the end of the year. And that might be bad for Zeke. Whereas Seattle will also have to put the ball in the air, right? And it looks like the Lions' game plan going forward is to do that. But DK Metcalf is going to get targets later on in the year. And guess what? He's got Detroit in your championship week. So for me, that's worth it. I would take that just because of DK Metcalf's upside. And after what we saw with Zeke this week, I just don't. I don't trust it. If you're gonna sell him for that much now, like you gotta sell him now. So
I'm
um
pretty sure like what we saw from Dallas might not just be because they were playing Tampa. I think in more games than we think, we're going to see Dak just go out and slang it. He's got an elite arsenal that not many teams have, certainly not the Lions. So DeAndre Swift is going to catch more passes than Zeke, especially when you have Tony Pollard there in the way. Based on
yeah.
what we saw week 1, I'd rather have Swift. Right now, I'd rather have Swift.
Yeah, I would too. And moving forward, and speaking of the wide receivers out in Dallas, for those of you that saw Michael Gallup on your bench get only 7.6 points, just know that he had 7 targets. For a guy that had that many points, same thing with Darnell Mooney. For a guy that had that many points and to only get 7 points or that many targets, only get 7.6, he only caught 4 balls. So he's obviously going to be targeted in this offense. That's another guy that I would probably be like, if somebody drops him, like I'd probably drop somebody to grab him or just a piece of that offense. Um, but yeah, other than that, I'm not sure, Kev, if there's too many guys that I really want. I don't want a Sammy Watkins. I'm not going to take Hunter Renfro just yet, but with 9 targets, it's awfully enticing. But I think they may have to do that all year too. Las Vegas. Hunter Renfro he is interesting, but I think they have a very tough schedule. So I'm probably just not dropping who I have on my bench. Again, I was a complete wide receiver whore this year, so in drafts. The guys 7 through 11 I loved. So I'm probably not going to do that.
Yeah, I would with Waller just the way they feed Waller, I would basically stay away. I wouldn't make it a priority to add Renfro. If you have a guy you can drop, you miss out on one of the other guys you wanted, or if he's the best available and you have someone you really can drop, then yeah, add him. But I wouldn't be going crazy.
Right. No, if you have a bench that's worth more than like 7 or 8 guys, then maybe. But like most benches are 6 guys, and you're just not going to have the room. Um, Another guy too I wanted to talk about real quick, just because he's not owned any 1.8% is Van Jefferson, and there are a ton of guys that I've talked to in the last 24 hours that want a piece of him. I don't. Now he's taking the spot finally, right? I am happy for the kid because when he came out of college, he was just an absolute star. So I am happy that he's getting some production. He only had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 80 yards, and his long was was 67. So like I'm not going after him. I'm gonna wait and see who people drop for him. That's like another guy that I'm like, all right, who's dropping somebody for him? Who's dropping a Cole Beasley? Who's dropping, whoever, LaVisca Chenault? Like, I'm probably going after him, but otherwise I'm staying away.
Yeah, he had the long touchdown, but other than that, just seems like that's something that's not going to happen every week. You know it's going to be Cup and Woods leading the way. Tyler Higbee was heavily targeted,
Yep.
so
Love
I'm
that.
not I'm not jumping on Van Jefferson just yet. I'd like to see a little bit more. Now there's a tight end that is only about 26% rostered that I do want to talk about real quick though. Had 8 targets in what should be a high flying offense. So Jared Cook.
Love that.
If you messed up, you went late tight end, you had a Gasicki or a Hooper,
What about a
Jared Cook's
Ferkser?
probably someone. A Ferkser was a bold choice right out of the gate anyway. Uh, but yeah, for sure, I'd rather have Jared Cook right now with Herbert at
Okay.
QB. He was heavily targeted. He logged over half the snaps. So yeah, if you went late tight end and he didn't exactly, if it wasn't a Noah Fant or someone like that, definitely look into Jared Cook.
Yeah, I
I
would I
am.
would ag- I would agree. 8 targets. That's insane. Um, Cole Kmet, another guy, only 28% owned, and I think he had a great day. So if you took somebody like, I mean, I wouldn't go dropping Robert Tanyan just yet, or I don't even think. Would you drop Pat Fryermuth after week 1? Like, would you? Because we saw Ebron get a
He's.
couple of targets. I
I
know it
think
wasn't
you
anything
kind of
spectacular, but
have to.
okay.
In a redraft and not a dynasty, like I think you have to move on from Fryermuth. Maybe you'll be able to get him back, but like for a guy like Jared Cook who's getting the production right now, yeah. Dynasty, I'll hold on to Fryermuth all day long, but
Yeah, of course.
you got to win right now. Go get Jared Cook over Fryermuth, yeah.
Now, I saw too James O'Shaughnessy out of Jacksonville got 8 targets too. Is that somebody you would consider? Or do you not trust that offense as much? Do you not trust the quarterback? Let's say what it is. It is what it is. Do you not trust that quarterback as much as you would trust Justin Herbert? Do you not trust Trevor Lawrence? Do you not trust the offense? I personally probably wouldn't do that. But what's your thoughts on that?
I don't know what to really think about that team at all.
Okay,
Chark had
okay,
12 targets, only caught
great.
3 of them. Chenault's going to be a target hog. Marvin Jones got his. It just seems weird, and I wouldn't jump on O'Shaughnessy. Not yet. It could just be one of those 1 week things.
Yeah. I think so too. I think the 3 guys that finished above Jared Cook, Jawan Johnson, James O'Shaughnessy, and Pharaoh Brown, like I don't think I'm going after those guys because they are virtually unowned, but they're unowned for a reason. And the reason is that you don't know necessarily if you can trust their quarterback, if you can trust their coach. All the things take into account. Pharaoh Brown is interesting. I don't know where Jordan Akins was. Um, yeah. I am always and forever off the Jordan Akins train.
Yeah, man,
Um,
you hit the nail on the head on that one.
I, I,
That was
to be
bad.
fair, my reasoning was not because I thought a man named Pharaoh was gonna be the leader there, but yeah, Jordan Akins with 2 targets. You can get out of my face with that.
Yeah, punt him to the moon.
Right, exactly.
I don't
Now what
want
about
any
the
part of
team?
that.
Yeah, no. Now what about um a guy like David Njoku or a guy that I probably like more that's owned in 1% of leagues, and he was owned everywhere last year, probably after week 3 or 4, is Dalton Schultz. 6 targets, 6 receptions, 45 yards. Um, I mean, that's fairly good. He only had a long of 16, and Joku had 43. Um, I do like Dalton Schultz. If I mean I'm a Ferkser owner, I can tell you that. I'm probably going to immediately drop him because I just do not trust the Tennessee Titans right now. But like a guy like Dalton Schultz, like if nobody picks him up, I'm probably going to target him. Where David Njoku, I think that offense has too many parts to it.
Yeah, there's Hooper, Harrison Bryant. They both were on the field and saw targets, and then you had this kid Schwartz was like their number one wide receiver somehow. Anthony Schwartz. Nah, so he was obviously not their number one. Landry's their number one, but 5 targets for this kid Schwartz.
It's
Uh,
ugly.
out of nowhere. Beckham's gonna
Schwartz,
be
Schwartz,
short.
Schwartz.
Beckham's coming back. You know, I'm not excited for Njoku. We've
And
seen him before.
I want to say poor Rhino because I know he loves his boy DBJ, but
He's
ooh, dude,
fuming.
as soon as I saw Schwartz targeted 3 times, I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, "Oh no, dude!" Like, where I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I
man.
texted you guys. I was like, "Where's your boy, man? Where's DBJ?" I think he did get a target, but let's hope that volume goes up.
Just the
For
one.
Rhinos. Just the one. I think he just had the one, and it
Wow.
was late in the game when they had a 4 receiver set out there. So, um,
So he
oh
played
boy,
80% of the snaps, man, and only had the one target. So I don't know. I don't know, man. We'll see where that goes.
that's a
But
low
yeah, I'm
percentage
not
of routes run per target. Let's just put it that way.
certainly not
Oh,
looking to pick
80%.
up
I didn't even know. I wouldn't
Njoku.
even have
Yeah,
laughed.
he was
I
on the
don't think
field, man. He was on the field a lot.
I wouldn't have laughed. That's more concerning than anything at that point. But yeah, overall, I think Gerald Everett had a pretty good day, 10 points, with a touchdown, which is fine. But we knew that. We knew that he had 2
Right.
targets. We knew that was going to be a possibility. So Gerald Everett, 38% owned. I like that piece. I do like that piece with touchdown dependency. Like we say with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, tight ends are just ugly. That's why if you can get Jared Cook with his 8 targets with Justin Herbert at quarterback,
Yeah.
you got to do that.
I think so. Kittle finishing 10th is something that we also kind of figured would happen. I don't think he would finish outside the top 10 ever, but I wasn't targeting him in any drafts and didn't take him in any drafts.
Nah, man, it was Kelsey, Waller, and then a cliff that you fall off. But Hawkinson may close that gap.
Now he may. Darren Waller, he's going to finish as the tight end one with the
I
share
think
he's
this is
getting.
the year, man. I agree. This might be
Yeah.
the year.
He's gonna finish. I think he finishes over Travis Kelsey. I do. At this juncture, from what we saw last night, he had 12 more targets than Travis Kelsey. Now, a lot of them were long balls. A lot of them did not get to him. Only caught 10 of those 19. But if you get fed, man, it's all about volume. It is all
And
about volume when it comes to this stuff.
he dropped 2 of them, so he could have easily had 12 catches. It's just ridiculous, bro. And this is not a new thing. Like the end of last year, he was on a absolute ridiculous tear this same way. It if you, like they were saying on the broadcast, man, all night, if you don't touch him at the line of scrimmage and you just let him do his thing, he's gonna eat you up.
Yeah.
And it's
It's just
crazy.
unreal. And you know what? You gotta be so happy for a guy like that, just from a fan perspective, because the dude went through like some serious substance issue stuff, man. So I'm happy for the guy, and he's obviously the guy there. We did just have a question come in from my buddy Bobby DiCarlo. Him and his brother are on the stream. His little brother Jordan, who I'm pretty sure is in college now, and I think the last time I saw him, he was like a wee man. He just wanted to know um, our perspective, our thoughts on Deontay Johnson. So, um,
Dud.
obviously, wide receiver out of Pittsburgh. So I'll let you start, and then I'll go in.
Basically what we saw week 1 was what we saw all of last year. He definitely creates separation, great route runner, heavily targeted in an offense that will throw the ball a decent amount. I mean, 10 targets, double digit. He caught the touchdown. I think he's Ben's favorite target. He's not like the big play reliant sort of guy. Like Claypool's is going to make those circus catches, but Deontay's the guy you want in a PPR. Everyone, I don't know why people were low on him. I know he had the drop problem last year, but still down the stretch was a wide receiver 1. My biggest thing with him is I feel like almost every game he's on the ground wriggling in pain. Like he's never felt pain worse than that in his entire life, and then he's back in the game like 5 plays later. So I don't know what that's all about. But the fact that
Maybe
he
he
comes
played
back and
soccer
plays,
growing up.
yeah, man, he's flopping. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's heavily targeted in a top half offense. Elite route runner. I love Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I do too. I wouldn't be too worried about him, Jordan. With 10 targets and only catching 5 of them against what is a really good defense. In Buffalo, I wouldn't foresee him being under 15 points. I mean, I think he got 14.6, but either way, like he's gonna find the end zone during games. They do have a tough stretch coming up after Cincinnati, but other than that, like his schedule is pretty clear. And let's be honest, I mean, it's not like Big Ben looked horrible. I don't think he looked horrible. So I wouldn't be too worried about Deontay Johnson. I think for him to finish outside of the top 30 again this season, it could happen. I don't think it's very likely. Um, Yeah, I don't think
Oh,
it's very likely. I don't think guys like Van Jefferson are going to be above him. I don't think guys like Deontay Harris or KJ Osborne are going to be above him. And Zach Pascal, like I don't think that's going to be an every week thing. Even Jarvis Landry, like I just don't foresee that happening. So Deontay's going to get his. He's going to win you weeks, and then when they play tough defenses, he may lose you weeks. So yeah, we can continue. So I think we kind of covered the waiver ads for everything but QB. I think my only question, Kev, is are you like genuinely worried about anybody that
oh
people
man,
picked that are 90%
genuine
owned and above?
worry.
And I think
What
I
is
know who you're going to
Tannehill's
say, but
percentage?
Tannehill's
Ryan
91, 90.
Tannehill's 90% owned.
Yeah,
I'd like to see Tennessee right the ship.
yeah.
I mean, this is a perennial playoff team now. Last few years, like went to an AFC championship. So we got to see them figure it out. I know defense is not going to be their strong suit, but that offense is supposed to be high flying. They brought in Julio. He didn't do anything. AJ Brown he caught the touchdown, but meh. Derrick Henry he didn't find any room to run, and that's a guy that needs to get going. He's got to rumble. He's got to get into the groove. He's got to rip off a couple in a row, and then that's once he breaks the defense down is when he gets going. If he doesn't get the chance to do that because the defense is giving up 30 points a game, it's going to be rough. So I think both sides of the ball got to tighten up at least a little bit, or I'm definitely worried about him. That's the league that I have him in. I'm probably going to target somebody else.
A Jameis Winston.
just to have on the bench or pick the matchups. Because if they don't figure it out, yeah, I'll end up dropping Tannehill for sure.
Right. And I think wide receiver, or I'm sorry, quarterback is especially somebody. If you wait on a quarterback, you can stream. Like you can. My year a couple years ago, I think I streamed for the most part and just had Jameis Winston on my bench and played him in matchups that I thought were positive, and it just worked out that way. Now, is there anybody that you're targeting in particular? If, in a league, are you targeting a Jared Goff? Are you targeting Jameis Winston? I think that one's obvious, but
I'm
other guys that
definitely
finished that
targeting
have
Jameis, but
right, yeah, he's only 35% owned. I'm trying to pick guys that are like under the 30 mark, right? So like you're not going to target Daniel Jones.
nah,
You're not going to target
nah.
Teddy Bridgewater, or would you?
No, I'm not only in Superflex, but these guys are all going to be owned in a Superflex league, except the absolute bottom of the
Right.
barrel. Maybe Goff's available in a Superflex, or
Right.
Tyrod Taylor, as if 12-team league, 2 quarterbacks. Most teams probably have 3 quarterbacks. Yeah. So never mind. All the quarterbacks are owned in Superflex leagues. So
Yeah.
nah, man, I'm not targeting these guys. If I had to, I'd stream. Winston's the only one I'd actually be like legitimately interested in having on my roster. Except with the exception being Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Fields is at 52, and Trey Lance, where's he at? 33.
Wow.
They will both be the starter eventually. They have to.
I think
They both
Justin
scored
Fields, you
touchdowns this week,
right.
and they're not even the starter.
Right. I
Um,
think particularly
yeah,
for me, Justin Fields, I think I would target him quickly, because if you do have a guy like Tannehill and you're genuinely worried, or if you have a guy in your bench like Mac Jones or Tua, like I'm probably targeting Justin Fields. He's even owned
yeah.
more than
I
both
don't
of
want
those guys,
Tua.
but no, I don't want to either. I mean, we saw him struggle this weekend, and we won't even get into that game because it's just what it is. But um, yeah, you know what? For a streaming option the rest of the year, I'm gonna tell you who intrigues me, and it's Derek Carr. And I know people don't want to hear that, and I know people hate Derek Carr. But here's the deal: if he's throwing the ball 50 to 60 times every week, like he's gonna have to, because his team is not that good on the offensive line. And I know he has a couple of tough games coming up in the next 2 weeks, so I don't think he'll be owned. I don't think he'll be played. But after that bye week, I think he's intriguing, because when you have a guy like Darren Waller that's catching the ball, or you're throwing to him 20 out of those 56 times, I'll take those odds any day of the week. If you got a guy like Zay Jones who literally just runs his 4-4 as fast as he can towards the end zone, and you just huck it up like he's Tyreek Hill, yeah, I'll take those odds. So I'm just saying, don't necessarily add him now, but I think he is intriguing in regards to, if you have a guy like Josh Allen, if you're in a deep 14-man league and you have Tua, yeah, I think he's an intriguing option. Kirk Cousins will always be Kirk Cousins. He'll always just average just over 20 points, I think. So like, he's not a bad ad either. I really want to talk about Jared Goff. He's the number 3 quarterback this week, and I don't care if it's garbage time or not. They're gonna have to play that way most of the season. What do you feel about Jared Goff? Like, are you stashing? Like, he has a horrible schedule coming up. I know Green Bay just got torched, but like, I don't think that team is as bad. Baltimore, Chicago, Minnesota, and then the Rams before their week 9 bye week. Now after that, it does get a little bit easier. His playoff schedule is Arizona, Atlanta, and Seattle. So that might be intriguing if we see him continue this. But are you like looking to add him, or would you much rather go after a guy, like Justin Fields or Trey Lance if they're available in your league, or even Jameis
Yeah,
Winston?
yeah. I don't want Jared Goff. Maybe if you had to as a streamer, but I'm gonna stay away from that. Him and Derek Carr, man, I fell for that trap already. Last year, and what looked like both of those guys actually did the same thing to me. Looked like the greatest matchup on paper. So I was like, I'm streaming these guys this week, playing a matchup, and it bit me in the ass. They both
Yep.
put up like 8 points.
Yeah, I think we did have them
But,
too. We had them down as like um as
yeah, they
stream.
were like streams of the week or whatever. Perfect matchup. Everything was lined up for them to do great, and they shit the bed, man. I feel like Derek Carr probably just threw for like his season high because the game went almost 5 full quarters. I wouldn't chase those guys unless you're in a super flex league. Obviously, they're already owned. But I'd much rather have Winston and then Fields and Lance as a stash than go after a Goff or a Carr.
Yeah.
Unless
I
your
think
QB situation was just terrible. But I mean, there's 12 guys that you could start over them.
I think so too. And I'd also even argue Teddy Bridgewater to a certain degree because that schedule is just that schedule is frothy. Have you looked at it?
I know that it's easy. They get the Jags and the Jets, right? Because I picked the Broncos defense for the first 3 weeks of the year for that reason.
Yeah.
Very
No,
good start.
he hasn't made, honestly, Kev, for most of the year. He has Jacksonville, the Jets, Cleveland, Dallas, Philly, the Chargers, Detroit, and in the championship week he's got the Chargers again, which he'll have to throw the ball because they're both going to be. I don't think the Broncos will be vying for a playoff spot or anything, but I do think that the Chargers will be. So I do think that he has an enticing schedule too. Other than that, man, I think we covered most of everybody that we would want, and that we
Yeah.
really, yeah. Like I'm not gonna make too many waiver ads. I think there's only a few positions. It's mostly running back that I'm always concerned about. But I just have a couple of notes that I wrote down here today that I want to go over, because I think they're important to know. And I want you guys to not freak out about your rosters. Like, you drafted these guys for a reason, and if you screw it up, that's fine. Like, take that on the chin in week 3, but don't take it on the chin now. It's just a loss. That's what it is. It's a fantasy loss. I went 3-4 this week. You can ask Kev in our league of record. I scored 156 points and still lost by 10. So this type of shit just happens. It's a loss. Take it on the chin. Last year, these are the reasons I don't want you guys to freak out. Trubisky had 30 points. He was benched 2 weeks later. He had 30 points in week 1. He was benched 2 weeks later. So guys like Garoppolo, and Andy Dalton. Obviously, you don't own Andy Dalton, but like, they can get replaced easily. And it's not like he had an up and comer, right? He had Nick Foles. So yeah, don't go freak out for a quarterback. Naeem Hines was the running back 5. The next week he had 1 target and no carries. Now for a guy like DeAndre Swift or Jamal Adams, I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't know if we necessarily have a situation like this, but we'll see. We'll see in a week if DeAndre Swift just gets 1 target. Like, we don't know. And then for a wide receiver, Robbie Anderson after week 1 was the wide receiver 5, and he only finished inside the top 20 just one more time the entire season. So before you go making crazy trades, before you go making, trades for Corey Davis because you think he's going to be the next fucking, Cooper Cup or anything like that. Like, I don't foresee it happening like that. Debo Samuel, same thing. That offense is really good, and a lot of people are going to touch that ball. So don't go crazy. Don't go trading. Don't go dropping your star rookie wide receiver. But if you're confident, go with your gut. I guess that would be my advice. Do you have anything to say to these guys, Kev? Because I know,
Um,
this first one's important. It is important because everyone's going to jump
yeah.
on the shiny things.
I'm pretty much going to say the same thing, man. Don't blow your roster up week 1. I know we kind of just overreacted this whole show about guys that we're worried about, but you got to wait and see a little bit longer before you just blow your whole roster up. If there's guys that you can clearly drop, guys that we mentioned, go ahead and drop them. Go get your Elijah Mitchell, but don't blow your roster up for the week 1 smoke. Sammy Watkins a couple years ago was
last year
really
too.
good at this. Yeah, he'll just put up 50 in week 1. Everybody jumps on him. He's hurt the next week. It was Deshaun Jackson too, was the other one. So yeah, take it easy, take a deep breath, relax. You can start 0-1, be just fine. I will say though, Moose, I would try to trade for Corey Davis. Don't trade your stud running back for him, but if you can acquire Corey Davis for a decent price, go ahead.
Yeah, that's
Go
fair.
ahead and do that.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. If you can somehow sell Jamal Williams for Corey Davis, go ahead and do it. And if you have a star-studded running back core, yeah, I might like
Tyson Williams. If you can sell
Yeah.
Tyson Williams, I would sell him. And you want to know why? You want to know why?
I've been because you
scouring fantasy Twitter all day. All day I've been scouring fantasy Twitter, and second half he was basically a non-factor. He had the big first half, he looked pretty good, and then Latavius Murray ended up with more carries. Was he as good? Not really, but he can pass protect.
Yeah.
Tyson Williams allowed Lamar Jackson to get absolutely blown up on that game-sealing fumble. And it wasn't the first time that he struggled in pass pro. Will he improve? Maybe. But they're not going to trust him in big spots, bro. And if you can sell him and see what you can get, some guys might jump on that and give you something they probably shouldn't. That's why, I mean, I'm playing in leagues where guys aren't, they ain't that, I'm not going to say stupid, but they're not going to fall for it. They're not going to see Tyson Williams on a trade block and offer me someone they shouldn't. But if you're playing in a league that's not quite as savvy, see what you can get for him. Don't sell him too short, but see if you can pull in a bigger name, someone that struggled this week. Because I'm just not sure if Harbaugh is going to trust him on the field, big spots, even if he's the better running back.
Yeah, and let us know. Message us. I mean, tag us in a post on Twitter. Let us know your trades. Obviously, TikTok, we're absolutely blowing up right now. We got past 250 followers today. And I'm sorry, 750 followers today. We're almost at 30,000 likes, and I would say at this point we're well over almost 500,000 views. So we're getting there, and it's not happening slowly. We are going fast. So we want to be able to answer your questions, but we also would love the help from all you guys that watch here. Definitely share. We got a crazy amount of comments today. My computer is just slow as hell. Alex Sternup, Uncle Alex was on the stream. Michelangelo, my buddy Bobby
Handed me a big old L, man. Uncle Alex.
Uncle Alice.
Me.
Uncle Alice
put me in a grave.
For those that don't know and didn't watch our Legacy League draft last week, Uncle Alex is a 15, soon to be 16-year-old young man from Western.
I ain't buying
Mass.
it, bro. That's an industry plant, dude, all day long.
We definitely have a conspiracy theory going on that he is actually little Schefter. He's little Adam Schefter, and he's little Adam Schefter's child that's just messing with us.
He's a spy. He's working for somebody. This is espionage.
Yeah, he must be. Jordan DeCarlo, thanks for joining. Haven't seen you since you were a wee little child. He just asked, how often do you guys stream? Great question, Jordan. So we stream every Thursday night pregame before the first Thursday night kickoff. We're also on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. to answer any start sit questions you have. And then we come back on Tuesdays for the waiver / trade show. We did get a trade question tonight from your older brother. So Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. And hit me up, have your brother hit me up for any questions you might have, and then tune in for the show. I'd love to answer any questions you have on the show. So again, thank you to everyone that's been joining us. We, I think, had a season high for viewership. We're on TikTok, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're getting pretty high on subscribers on that as well. I mean, 50 may not seem big to you guys, but last year we had none. So we're going places. We'd love for you guys to come with us. We're just trying to get you guys better. And we're trying to do that the same ourselves. It's not always easy. It's fantasy football. We're not psychics. So thank you all. Anything you got to say to the fans out there, Kevo?
Just a big thank you, man. Just thanks for the support. And just keep tuning in because we're just going to keep getting better the more comfortable we become on all the social media platforms and the live show, obviously. Uh, we were missing our other two teammates tonight. You'll probably see them on Thursday. Rhino and Perks. Wouldn't be the same without them. So just shout them out, shout out our fans, and just thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thursday, 7 o'clock is the next stream. Be here. If you guys have people playing in this Thursday night game, you're gonna want to know what to do. And we have definitely some tips and tricks for you as in regards to where you should be with your lineup. So yeah. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys. Jordan, appreciate the support, man. Good to hear from you. And we look forward to seeing you Thursday and Sunday morning. All That's it. That's a
That's
show.
it, man.
That's a wrap.
That's it, brother. I'll be talking.